Well, good evening, everybody. This is Chief Meteorologist Andrew Pinero. Back at the desk again. Hooray! Let's celebrate. We got some wine. Cheers, everybody. So, in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about the residual heat that is still with us, maybe some storm chances, and when are we going to see some relief from the heat? So, let's get started here, looking at what's happening right now with the kind of alerts that we have. Alright, so starting off here with the National Weather Service, we are seeing right around the New York City area here, even going a little bit into Connecticut, heat advisories. Going a bit more south, we do have along the Jersey Shore air quality alerts. Going a bit more northeast into New England, there's really not much. It's because most of this heat and all the heat advisories are really focused around here, the New York City area. And what are we expecting with the weather story? Well, let's take a look. We have temperatures that are going to be record high 98. I don't think it's going to get that hot tomorrow. But this is what we're seeing for high temperatures from the National Weather Service, which is pretty much in the low 90s everywhere until you get to Suffolk County, which will be in the 80s, except Stony Brook there is coming in at 90. But everywhere else is pretty much upper 80s to low 90s. So not record-breaking, but still hot. And this will be continuing this heat. And maybe we'll see the heat a little bit more into the week ahead. So that's what we're seeing out there right now with the heat. And one other thing that's interesting I want to bring up. Yes, we're going to take a quick peek at the San Francisco Bay Area because, yes, they're dealing with the heat as well. Also heat advisories. And once you get more inland, because there's a lot of microclimates right around the San Francisco Bay Area, extreme heat warnings. So the extreme heat warnings are with high temperatures of this is temperature, not the feels like. We have high temperatures up to 110 degrees. That is what is prompting this extreme heat warning. So that's what we're seeing in this purplish area there. So the heat is in a lot of areas right now. So it's going to be with us for a little bit more. And you might think that's going to trigger some storms, right? Well, today was actually a pretty good example of it was a very beautiful looking day outside. Just a few passing clouds, beautiful blue skies, and just hot. It wasn't as uncomfortably hot because the humidity was a tad bit lower out there. Today was a good day to just chill in the backyard with maybe some wine. But it was a little bit less humid out there, and that's why it felt a little bit better. I was outside in the yard. It was about 90 degrees outside when I was looking at the temperatures, but it didn't feel like the same 90 degrees as it was the previous days. But that could change a little bit, because when we take a look at the day 2 convective outlook, we see starting to enter the New York City area and even going upstate New York a little bit, we do have a marginal risk. The slight risk is extending. If you look at where it is here, it's kind of still in that same area for the day 2 compared to day 1, but it's just extended eastward. So there is a potential for some severe weather. So let's take a look at the setup out there. I'm going to pull up the satellite right now. And on the satellite, this is where we're seeing kind of almost right where that slight risk was. The moisture plumes, because this is water vapor imagery. So this is going to continue moving eastward, but we're also getting, you see this little, the orange there? That's some lower moisture, lower water vapor levels. That's why it felt a little bit better throughout New England, or the Northeast, essentially, today. But that may change, so let's jump right in on the good old tropical tidbits here with the GFS. So advancing through this today, it was pretty good, clear, very low wind. That's why the isobars are spread pretty wide. We have a low pressure gradient. Now going into tomorrow, the GFS is kind of the outlier here. I will tease. Because when we're looking through this tomorrow, it looks clear to start, clear through the day, and then is 0Z, so about 8 p.m. Eastern time. We start seeing some showers in the western half of New York over the Finger Lakes and the Great Lakes region. And then nothing really reaches the New York City area until 12Z Tuesday. I'm not going to advance anything beyond that. And when we go to the Euro here, we're going to start through today. Again, pretty cool. Or not cool, but pretty calm. The isobar is not as tightly packed, so it wasn't as windy. But going into tomorrow, here's 12Z. We already see some differences with a line already forming. And then through the afternoon, there may be some little spot showers, but then this line comes in, 21Z. So that's maybe around 5 p.m. But you notice also it looks more intense here at 21Z versus 0Z. The reason being is probably there's a bit of a marine layer effect happening that's stabilizing the air as that system progresses eastward into the marine layer, so it weakens a little bit. That's probably one factor. The other factor is because the sun is setting by that point, so the energy source for the storms is gone or going away. So we're probably seeing a little bit of weakening there, but still, this is probably right here what the Storm Prediction Center is looking at when they're issuing the marginal risk for tomorrow in this area. And here, a little bit more westward into western Pennsylvania, that's probably prompting the slight risk. So that is on the Euro. And then I will also bring up the NAM here. Let's advance through this. So far, very similar. It was a great day Sunday. Low pressure gradient, calm winds. Now here, slight difference with the NAM is it's simulated radar versus the Euro and the GFS, which are precipitation rates. I believe they are 12-hour precipitation rates. On the Euro doesn't say, but the GFS says a 6-hour average precipitation rate in millimeters per hour. So the NAM is showing near surface reflectivity, which is radar. This is what a radar image would show. That's showing right around 21Z, which is that same time that we saw in the Euro as most of the stuff coming through. Just a little sprinkle. Just pop up right over New York City there. That's about it. A lot more organization, more west, but it looks like it's petering out as it makes its way east, probably for the same reasons I was explaining, sun setting and the marine layer effect. And that's about it. So nothing much going on with the NAM. The Euro was showing the most activity out of this. So I would probably put it somewhere in between, probably leaning a little bit more towards the Euro, but not all the way. Meaning there's going to be a system there, but it's going to be more broken than that. Maybe like this throughout the whole time. But it's showing maybe just, I don't really think anything severe is going to come out of this. Definitely nothing tornadic. There's no signs of tornadic activity here. But we could see some flooding, flash flooding occurring. There is still heat out there, and the heat is what could trigger a little pop-up storm. And the heat advisories are in effect until, I believe it's 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. tomorrow night. So, gotta keep that in mind too. All right, so just continuing through what the rest of the week looks like. Once we get past that system Monday, going into Tuesday, it looks like it's going to be a bit more scattered, but not really in the tri-state, a bit more north going into the U.S.-Canada border there, and more west. And also that continues into the Delmarva area, maybe a little around South Jersey. That is for Tuesday night into Wednesday. Then more clearing on Wednesday. More action a little bit more west going into Ohio there. This is Wednesday night to Thursday. Nothing for the Northeast really there. Then on Thursday, that's where we'll see our next chance of some showers or a storm. And this time after Thursday, I'm thinking this is going to start bringing down the heat. We're turning down the heat dial there. Because, first of all, we look at the isobars. Thursday going into Friday, the pressure gradient is really increasing there. And when we have the perpendicular isobar and we're going to call this, even though it's not officially an isotherm, we're going to think of this as where the warm air is. They're perpendicular, so that means there's advection happening. There's movement or transport of the air temperature. So that means there's a lot of that happening, which is probably going to bring down the temperature. I did see a graphic also from the National Weather Service that was showing the next 2 weeks, starting August 14th, 2 weeks after that, we're going to be below average, is what they're saying, in the Northeast, which is kind of balancing out. We've been above average, then we're going to turn below average, so we might end up just average for the month. All right, so it looks like through next Saturday. So once that system makes its way through Thursday and brings in the windier conditions, it's going to bring down the heat. Friday looks like a better day. Saturday looks like a better day until you get to Sunday morning, where maybe South Jersey could get some more storms. That was the Euro. Let's take a peek at the GFS. Now the same thing we're seeing more scattered. So this is Wednesday night to Thursday. And Thursday, again, right around the U.S.-Canada border there was some more action. Then going into Friday, Friday, the GFS is kind of the wild card here. It's showing some rain. Then going into Saturday, high pressure. And then Sunday was kind of the same thing as before, but Friday showed rain on the GFS. The Euro is completely clear. I would say the GFS is the outlier there. And then the NAM's not going to go that far out, but we'll take a look through what we see with the 84 hours we got. All right, so through Monday, starting out your day Monday, looks like fine for the Northeast, fine for the New York City area. More west, that's where you're going to see those storms popping up earlier. That's why there's a slight risk there versus the marginal risk as you get towards Jersey. But it is petering out, like we were mentioning. And then after that, on Tuesday, it looks like nothing going on Tuesday until we get to Wednesday morning. So there are slight timing issues between all three of these models. But I'd still say the first half of the week is still going to be hot, and there's still going to be a chance of some showers or storms throughout each of the afternoons. But it's so low that not everyone's going to see a storm. It could be sunny skies for you all day, but then 10 miles east of you, there could be a pretty big storm. And it'll be a quick 10-minute storm. So that's the first half of the week. Then we see the change up Thursday going into Friday. And I'll bring up very last here, going to be the MOS data. So on here, go back up to the top. So starting with Newark. That's where we're seeing 91 tomorrow, 91 Tuesday for the high, 85 Wednesday, 87 Thursday. But then Friday's high is 80, Saturday 82. So we get that cool down. We cool down to 80 degrees for Friday and Saturday, and then back up to 89 for Sunday. So it looks like we're staying warm, cooling down a little bit, so a tiny bit of relief there. Usually Newark's the warmest spot. Let's go now to White Plains, where we are seeing 87, 87, dropping down to 80, 82, 76 on Friday. So the cool down starts a little bit earlier the more inland you go, it looks like. So Wednesday will be a high of 80 there, 82, 76 for Friday, 79 for Saturday, 78 for Sunday. So more inland, looks like we'll have a little bit cooler temperatures for the second half of the week going into the weekend. Now going up a little bit more north, we're going to go to Albany. So for Albany, we're seeing 84, 85, and then 76 for Wednesday, 78 for Thursday, 74 for Friday, 79 Saturday, 75 Sunday. So we still have a couple days of warmth, and then it's dropping down. And even the dew points We're seeing 65. This is Albany for 65-degree dew point on Monday. And we're seeing it start out 66. That timing is like right in the morning hours, just before sunset. By the end of the day, 58, and then staying in the upper 50s to the low 60s for the dew point throughout the middle part of the week, and then it dries out for Friday and Saturday with low to mid 50s for the dew point there. And that's kind of what we're going to be seeing here too across the area. So here going into Boston, 88, 89, 79, 86, 78, 76, 80. So we're seeing a little bit of roller coastering, but the heart of the heat going to be Monday, Tuesday for everybody, and then Wednesday for some areas, a bit like New York City and South. And the dew point looks like 66, 50, then 65 to start out the day on Tuesday, 58, 58, 62. So we're seeing the upper 50s and low 60s. So it will dry out, and a 49-degree dew point on Friday. So that's where I think the GFS is the outlier, and it is not correct. Going back up, I just want to check the dew point in Newark, usually our hottest area there. We're seeing 68, 69 to start out the day on Tuesday, then 63. It's drying out through the day Tuesday. Wednesday, starting to see the drop from 91 to 85. The dew point is still in the mid to upper 60s, but then by the end of the week, so Friday, mid to upper 50s for the dew point. So it's drying down. It's drying off. We're seeing the humidity drop to be more comfortable the second half of the week versus the first half of the week. All right. So that was a quick little video here of what looks like the week ahead. Again, a little recap as it looks like we could see some storms tomorrow. Not everyone's going to see it. We do have just a slight risk unless you're a bit more west. That's where the slight risk is. We only have a marginal risk in the New York City area and basically in the northeast, let's say the southern part of the northeast area there. Then after that, we're going to see a little waviness of maybe a day of clear, then a day of showers until Thursday. After Thursday, I think the GFS is wrong. So we're going to say that Friday looks pretty clear because the dew points have dropped significantly too. So the second half of the week is going to be cooler and it's going to be drier because we see the wind started to kick up a bit. We noticed the past couple days outside of the storms. Like today, there was barely a breeze. But also, it was a little drier, so it felt pretty good. All right, so that is it for the weather for this week ahead. Cheers, everybody. If you are new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button below and the little bell icon right next to that so you get notified when I upload videos like this or when I get back to going live again. That I am just waiting to check some systems to make sure the live stuff is still good to go. And then I will let you all know when you can expect to see some live streams again. Otherwise, that is a wrap for this video. If you want to stay weather ready, make sure you get your radio for emergency communication from Better Safe Radio with my affiliate link below. That is from Mark from BetterSafeRadio.com. He pre-programs the radio so you'll have NOAA weather radio frequencies pre-programmed into your radio. All right, everybody, this is Chief Meteorologist Andrew Pinero, back with a first video, back at home. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Stay safe throughout the storm chances for the next couple of days, and I'll see you all in the next video.